Yay Media Group.
Welcome to My Safe Word is More with your hosts from Survivor and Amazing Race, Corinne Kaplan, TV personality and stand-up comedian Al Jackson. I'm Chris, your producer, and this is My Safe Word is More.
We are back,
yes.
And you can tell because Chris got a little something in his voice. Like, I'm like ready to go.
Yes. We took a break like the whole rest of the world did. And now we're back. New year, new asshole.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we're going to pick up right where we left off.
Yeah.
Right.
That statement hasn't really caught on for Target, but they're like, we're going to spitball it.
Yeah, so I'm going to remind our listeners, and if you're new here, we call you swimmers. So I'll remind our swimmers that I had a lateral sphincterotomy, very sexy surgery, where they cut into my sphincter muscle. And going into the surgery, when I last podcasted about this, I had not found the humor in it yet. It was really very scary.
Were you scared?
I was petrified.
You couldn't really tell. I was like, she's taking this very well.
No, I was not. No.
And Sarah, my girlfriend, looked into it and she was like, this is like not easy.
It's so fucking severe. And like, I just was doing this whole head in the sand thing when I was learning about it, where I just didn't learn about it. So I didn't find out anything until basically the last time we podcasted, which was a few days prior, because I was like, oh, I better read this 20-page instruction thing about what I'm supposed to do ahead of this, and like the post-op, and it was just super complex, which really scared me. But I am a survivor. And,
all right, Gloria Gaynor.
Yeah. And so I just thought like, okay, I'm sure that people are making a mountain out of a molehill, and this is not going to be that big of a deal. So I'm going to go through
How could somebody cutting into your ass not be a big deal?
It couldn't. And I was starting to realize that as time went
I don't
on.
like when people parallel park in front of my house for like 2 days straight. And that's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
Anything with your asshole is a really big deal.
I got news for you. Nobody's parallel parking in there. Okay, so there was a laundry list of instructions for both before I went in, pre-op and post-op, which I didn't bother reading until, 48 hours ahead.
I think that's better.
Well, it is and it isn't, because when I started reading it, I was like, oh my God, I think I want to cancel this surgery. Like, I don't think I should do this. And there was just so many people that like online were like, God, I wish I never did this. This was the worst thing I ever did. And even though it has a very high success rate, it is such a horrific surgery, like the aftermath, that most people are like, I'd rather live with what I was living with than have to do the recovery. And I had made no attempt at, like, my parents had booked a flight to fly in, and I was adamant they not fly in, because when I read the post-op, it was like, you need to ice your asshole for 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off for 2 full days. You're like, I don't want people.
Find somebody you'll never see again.
Yeah, like I have, like my parents were like, how are you going to get up and down the stairs? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'll just stay on the main floor near the bathroom. Like, I don't want, like there was lidocaine I had to put in my asshole. Like there was all these things. But so to begin with, when the pre-op stuff, they tell me the morning of, so this is the way that it works. I have to go in, I'm set to be there at 7:30 in the morning. My surgery's not until 9:30. I'll be released probably around 11, and someone has to sign me out, but no one has to bring me there. So because I hate asking anyone for anything, and also I'm very like independent in that way, I was like, I will get, I pre-called an Uber, and the morning of, you have to do 2 enemas back to back, because they want you like completely cleaned out.
Right. Did you talk to the Uber driver about this before he picked you up?
So I wake up like...
Your car's all rubber, right?
I wake up at like 4 a.m. to start this enema process. And like, honestly, nothing was coming out. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I know my goal was, I understood, because I didn't read the post-op, I just really read the pre-op. I understood that like, well, I'm just going to go on a water and soup diet for a few days, because obviously it's going to be horrific to go to the bathroom. That was my plan going in, like 100%. So I ate a bunch the night before, because it was like the last meal I was going to have for like 3 days.
When you say a bunch, because your idea is way different than
I know. I had like 2 lean cuisines.
I knew that's what it was. I knew that's what it was. I would have gone to the grocery store and gotten 2 of those big turkey legs and eaten like a mean king.
I didn't. I put elote seasoning from Trader Joe's on some chicken enchilada suiza lean cuisines and called it a day. And then I had some candy, because I love candy. So anyways, I go to sleep that night, and it's like the saddest night of my life, right? Like it's really depressing. Then I wake up, I'm shoving enemas in my asshole, and now I'm waiting on this Uber. I get in the Uber, and he's like, oh, where are you going? And I was like,
Yeah.
It's just so depressing. And it's still dark out when I get in the Uber because, of course, I have to be ungodly early for this because I'm so nervous, you know? And I get
What
there.
time was it scheduled? What time did you get there?
I was supposed to be there at 7:30. I got there at 6:45.
Okay.
But like, I was like, what if the Uber doesn't, you know, it's nerve-wracking. It's a very scheduled surgery. I have to be there in enough time for everything. So anyways, I get there and I'm so nervous. And I check in and they're like, okay, who is your family member who is here with you? And I was like, I'm just here by myself. And the sadness on their faces, I was like, she'll be here.
Right.
Elise is picking me up, but I don't need her.
She's like, we have hospital volunteers for people like you.
Yeah.
Calls the no friends hotline.
Okay, so let me, sorry. Let me back it up, okay? I forgot this part. The day before I begin reading the instructions, and I panic because it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the instructions say one thing, but the doctor told me something else, and it says on the instructions, like, pay attention to what the surgery center says, not what your medical person says. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I panic, and because one of the things it said was you could not have water 24 hours before surgery, 24 hours. And I go, that's a really long time. And I don't even drink water, but I was like, that cannot be right. That doesn't make any sense. You can always have water before surgery.
We're in the mountains.
But I was like, that's a really long time. And I also really cared whether or not I could take the Ambien. So I asked to be passed through to my doctor. They page him. He calls me. And I said, can I have water? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you can have water up until like 2 hours before you come in here. And I said, because the printed instructions say very definitely otherwise. He's like, well, I don't know why they say that. And then I said, what about Ambien? He goes, I'd rather you not. And I was like, right. Well, and maybe I told you this last time. I was like, why don't you go talk to an anesthesiologist because I'd rather take it. And he's like, well, I mean, I said, can you just get me am I going to die if I take it? Because I'm not going to sleep. This is horrendous. So he says, I can take the Ambien. I take the Ambien with water. Well, prior to this, the surgery center calls me again, and they're like, we're just confirming you didn't drink any water. And I was like, what the fuck? So I go, I don't understand.
What did you say?
Wait till you hear the response. So she goes, I said, my doctor, who is one of the top colorectal surgeons in this state, said I could have water up until 2 hours before. She goes, all right, so here's the thing. I'm going to be real with you. There was a hurricane and the IV bag distribution system is down. And we don't have enough IV bags. So sometimes the provider will ask you to hydrate because we may not have enough IV fluid. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? This is a real conversation I'm really having, like,
Did
the
they go,
evening.
and can you do us a solid and bring your bed too? We're a little short. Larry got hammered last night. He passed out with some chick. The fuck is this?
Do you have a knife?
Yeah.
So I am as nervous as you could possibly fucking be going into this. And I don't understand the water thing. I'm calling my brother. And so, all right, so I get in there and now you can understand that I'm a fucking wreck. And so they were like, okay, we're putting, they put all these sticky things with the heart rate monitors all over you, right? And this nurse comes over and he said to me, he goes, I'm going to ask you some questions. You may have already been asked these questions, but I'm going to ask you again because it's my first day.
Oh.
Why, God, why?
Yeah, that's your first question.
Why? And so he starts with, he goes, it looks like you microdosed mushrooms. Have you microdosed mushrooms in the last 24 hours? And I was like, what? I forgot I put that on my... I put it like as though I'm such a fucking mushroom connoisseur.
You're so honest on these things.
I'm not usually. Trust me, how many drinks did I have? 0.
Yeah.
0 forever and ever. Anyways, so I go through the surgery and the doctor comes in and you know how this doctor is like so hot. And so he's constantly saying things that make me feel there's something there.
This is the doctor that said I wouldn't do anything to you I wouldn't do to my wife.
Right.
I remember that.
Yes. Yeah. And this is what he does when he talks to you. He's so handsome and he's so charismatic and he's very touchy. Touches your arm. And he said to me, he goes, you're going to be fine. And he said, he goes, let me look at your chart. And he goes, we've been seeing each other for quite a while now. Because I had been going to see him for 3 years for the same problem. And he was trying to infer that, like, yes, I needed surgery. And I said to him, okay, so this is important. I go, I need to understand when I can work out again. And he goes, well, we would love for you to walk around a little bit day of surgery. But no heavy lifting for 2 weeks. But that's pretty much the only parameter. And I was
no working out that doesn't involve Skechers.
Yeah.
Like you're doing like
Yeah.
old lady sit
Easy
in the chair
spirits.
yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So important to note here is the reason besides the Ambien that I had to call him ahead of time was because I cannot take opioids because I don't have opioid receptors. I've told you all this before. It's true. I was genetically born without them. So it will not do anything to me at all. And I know there's a substantial amount of pain coming my way. So I tell the doctor and he's like, why don't you explain to me what happens if you take an opioid? I was like, absolutely nothing. And then I go into this saga about how when I lived in New York City, my neighbor was a drug dealer. We had something called Killer Sundays where he'd give me a different painkiller and then I'd try it with alcohol, without alcohol, with a meal, without a meal. And it was very, very funny to him that nothing affected me. And the doctor
Wait a
was
second.
like,
You were a drug addict focus group?
yes, yes.
Okay.
My friend Avi. Yeah. So I would just come over and he'd be like, all right, well, here's a Roxaset. We're going to do this with 2 shots of tequila and I'm going to give you eggs. Let's see if you it was just fun. Anyways, I
would
know.
love
That
to
does
see-
sound fun.
It's fun.
I would like to see, like, because it's so scientific, if he did have like a chart and he's like, okay, 2 shots and 2 pills.
Yeah.
She's face down in a pool of her
Yeah.
own vomit. Okay, noted.
Yeah, but-
So next Sunday.
It never mattered. And I was 22 when we were doing this, and it never mattered what he gave me. It never had any effect. So, of course, I'm in a full-fledged paranoia because I have to go through a surgery that I have now read way too much online about.
Mhm.
And I am spinning out because I have to have something to take care of this. So I explain this to the doctor, and he gives me a solution, which I will tell you after the break.
Okay.
Okay, so I tell the doctor that I can't have any opioids. He says, okay, well, there is something we could do. This is the alternative. We can give you a shot. It's called Exparel. So if any of you are in the medical community and listening, you'll know what that is. I didn't know what it was, but he's like, that shot will numb the area for 72 to 96 hours.
Long enough for you to shoot your video.
Well, yeah. Right. Long enough to get a train ran on me. So I go, okay, what's why are we even discussing this? He goes, insurance won't cover it. I was like, okay, how much is it? Now, at this point, you have to understand, it wouldn't have mattered how much it was because what am I going to do? Not have any...
Right.
I don't want to raw dog the surgery. So he goes,
Right.
it's
A
$400.
cheaper option is the stick you can bite down on.
Yeah. He goes, it's $450. And he's saying this like I'm going to say no. And he goes, but honestly, you could probably get through it with icing and Tylenol, intermittently, Advil, whatever. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I want the shot. And he's like, okay, yeah, I got it. For $450, I'll take the shot. I mean, I obviously. So I had to order a sitz bath and there's all these things to ameliorate the pain because the pain is going to be so severe. So why the hell wouldn't I? So when he gives me the shot that day, he had to put a special medical bracelet on because the shot is so serious that they have to know if, God forbid, I get admitted to the hospital for any reason, they have to know I've had an Exparel shot because it would deeply affect any other medication. Like it's contraindicated with a ton of things.
Jeez.
So I knew it was like a serious thing. And I was like, great, bring in the big guns. And he's like, okay, we're gonna shoot you up in the area once you're out. And I was like, well, thank God. And so I come out of surgery. And first of all, unlike probably, I said to Elise, I go, listen, if you could just get there a couple minutes early and then monitor so that I don't say I want to fuck the doctor when I'm high or something, because you see these
Right.
surgery videos,
You
right?
want to wait till you're sober so he knows you mean
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want him to know how many times I've gone to look at his Facebook page. So, so she goes, all right, I got you. Well, as soon as they stop the meds, I'm like, zoinks, hello. And Elise gets back there. She's like, Jesus Christ, you had to have, what was it, 30 seconds that they took you to be wheeled out? She thought there was going to be this fun, coming out of this. No, because I have the craziest tolerance for this shit. So anyways, she's like, how do you feel? I go, I don't feel anything. I feel nothing. And she's like, okay, that's good. And then I look down, they have put me in a diaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for that reason. Yeah.
Well, there's a gauze diaper thing that I'm now wearing. And I was like, okay. And so they were like, listen, you are a fall risk for the next 48 hours. Elise has to sign off saying she's going to watch me. She's not going to watch me. I live in a 4-story townhouse. And I'm just I feel great though. And then I stood up and I didn't feel dizzy or anything, but the rest of my body, the only thing that's frozen in time is the asshole. Everything else you can feel. And I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And so I go to the bathroom. And
Oh, as soon as you stood up?
just so much blood.
Oh.
God.
I'm sorry. I know.
Ugh.
So anyways, so I am very not queasy about these things. So I walk out and I'm like, how much blood is too much blood? Like, I don't know if this is like inappropriate. And he was like, no, I mean, obviously, like they were working up there. There's also like whatever lubricant they use up there, whatever. So there's just like a lot of stuff that's coming out. I was like, okay, all right, well, I'm gonna go now. And so Elise drops me off. And so she goes, do you want me to walk you in? I go, no, I mean, I can't feel anything. So I'm fine. And so I go into the house and I'm like, people are such pussies, right? Like this was no big deal.
You walked in your house with 4 flights of stairs.
Yeah. I went up 2 flights, two stories, and I start icing like they told me. Now, they told me I had to be worried about frostbite because I can't feel anything. So that don't over ice. Like just ice it for set a timer so that you do not get frostbite because that's a whole nother problem. So I was like, okay, that's fair. So I'm doing the on, off. And I remember he said to me, so he specifically said no heavy lifting for 2 weeks, but he's like, we'd like you to walk around just because it'll get things moving because when you're under, everything, your intestines, everything is frozen, whatever, anesthetized. And so you want everything to wake up. So I put in my earbuds. I'm wearing the fucking diaper they gave me.
The gauze diaper.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I put on a pair of sweatpants and I start walking. But so I think they meant you can walk around your home. So I am 2 miles into a walk.
Oh. This is day of? Oh my God.
And I'm bored. I ran out of podcasts. So I call my brother and I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know everything went great. And he's like, where are you? And I go, 2 miles.
2 miles.
Yes. My brother's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He goes, you need to get an Uber. You need to get home. And I go, I don't feel anything. He goes, that doesn't mean like you have a 3mm cut in your sphincter with stitches internally and you're probably hemorrhaging. Like,
oh my God. Oh my God.
So
I'm just praying these are red sweatpants.
they were black,
God.
but this diaper was very substantial. Anyways, I get home and I was like, all right, well, everyone's crazy because I feel fucking great. And I didn't feel high or anything like that. I just felt numb. I felt like a normal person that didn't just have this surgery. So that evening I go to bed. Now remember, this shot's going to last me 72 up to 96 hours. So I'm like, oh, this is a breeze because the hardest part is the first 2 to 3 days. I'm like, if this is what it feels like, who fucking cares? Why is everyone not doing this shot? Like, I'm thinking I'm going to go on and review the shot. I'm going to go on my podcast, tell people about the shot. That evening, I go to sleep, 10 p.m. I wake up to go to the bathroom at, I don't know, maybe between 2 and 3 a.m. And as I get up to walk to the bathroom, I am in excruciating pain. The fucking shot wore off.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
The shot just wore off. Now, I don't know if it's because I walked it off, but like...
You definitely accelerated it because you got your blood going, so it went through your system faster.
But this is like an incredible waste of $450. This was useless. Like, I mean, middle of the night, the first night, gone. And now I am in the fucking 7th portal of hell. It was very bad.
1 out of 10. Give me that pain level.
Well, it's probably about a 7 regularly, and then you have to go to the bathroom. Then it's a fucking 15. And I have no way to ameliorate it. So I call the office freaking out that morning, and they're like, we'll call you in oxycodone. I always fuck that up. Yeah, oxycodone, right?
Right.
And I was like, for the 11th time, that isn't going to help me. Do you have something else? And they were like, no, we do not. And I was like, great talking to you.
But what else could they have had? What do you think they had?
I thought, I mean, somebody mentioned this to me today, actually, a fentanyl patch.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't really, like, all I know is that opioids don't do anything to me. And fentanyl is an opioid, but I think it's a different class. I might be fucking this up. If you're a medical person and you're screaming at your podcast right now, sorry. But the reality is there should have been, I don't care. Call me in and give me another shot then. Like.
Right. Well, they probably can't do that.
No.
Your
once you've done
body
the
will shut off.
Right. Once you've done the Exparel, you're in Michael Jackson land now. You can't do anything else.
Oh.
So I was really in excruciating pain. It was really horrible. And then it gets worse. So, I'm on the soup diet. Well, I read in this fucking Bible of instructions that you have to go to the bathroom by the evening of the second day. Otherwise, you have to go to the ER.
Because you'll be like impacted or whatever?
I think it's more that we have, your muscles aren't working. Like you have to be able to go to the bathroom. It's very important. So I'm like freaking out. And I don't want to go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
So.
Do you feel like you have to go to the bathroom?
No, I mean, I wasn't eating anything. But then I had to eat something. And then, so anyways, all right. The end of the story is that I survived. I don't recommend the surgery. I sure as shit don't recommend Exparel.
Do you think if you did recommend it, people would get it just because you recommended it? Like,
Yes.
I mean, I feel you're getting the surgery because this is your last option. So you know everything associated with your last option is going to be bad. It's like the last person at a Buffalo Wild Wings at 1:40 in the morning. It's not like, oh, he's a doctor. Like, you know it's bad.
Yes, that's all true. However, I want to remind you that the success rate is over 90%. So when you're doing all of this, you're like, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be cured. That's the whole point of it.
Right.
All right. Well, do I cut to break or do I tell you whether I was cured or not?
We have to take a break and then I need to, because I don't want you to have to stop.
So I'm going to give you this much, you guys. I decided to go to Aspen and I decided skiing wasn't included in the no heavy lifting for 2 weeks thing.
Because you're not really moving your legs, right? Wrong. Oh.
When we come back, a little bit more about my surgery and Aspen. Okay, so to give you a little background, I had scheduled this surgery because I was like, I'm not doing shit. Like, I'm not doing anything for Christmas. I am just chilling. That's why I got the surgery. My company shuts down. I'm not working. Like, all good. Well, then, Richard, bless him, but he called me and he was like, bitch, we're going to Aspen. And I was like, what? And I'm trying to I've had this surgery. And he's like, I don't care. Why can't you go to Aspen? And I was like, I just feel like, he's like, can you go or not? Like, do you want to go to Aspen? And I was like, yes, I want to go to Aspen.
Yeah, you have to just by default.
And he's a very queasy, like, he doesn't like to hear about anything like this. So I just was like, something is wrong internally. And I have to have surgery and stitches. And so I will. And he goes, do you want me to get you a nurse? Like, what are you asking? And I was like, no. Just like, just a little bit. So I decided I'm going to go to Aspen. Now, in going to Aspen, what I thought to myself, with regards to the asshole thing, I was like, all right, it was 2 weeks out. But the reality is the instructions were like no heavy lifting. I think it was no heavy lifting for 4 weeks, no like cardio for 2, whatever. Obviously, I abided by none of this.
Right.
But I also decided.
Did you feel healed?
No, sure didn't. No. There was intermittent feelings of like, oh, I think it's getting better. And then it just would get worse.
Like a bad relationship.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to talk a little bit about Aspen, then we'll circle back on this. So I'm going to Aspen and I decide I don't want to rent ski equipment. That's very annoying. And everyone that's going to Aspen has their own shit. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy ski boots, poles, and skis, but I'm going to get them all used. So I go to a ski store and everything I'm about to say, you're going to be like, I know. That's why I don't do it.
Even though we're talking about skiing.
Correct.
Okay.
So I go to put ski boots on. I go to the store. They measure me. Here's my size. Here's some boots. They're like, okay, stand up and ram your foot in. Ram it harder. You're not ramming it hard enough. And I was like, I can't get my foot in. This is so uncomfortable. And I'm like, why does anyone do this fucking sport? Like, those boots are so uncomfortable. And he's like, it only works if it's suffocating your foot. Like, once I could get it in, I was like, it hurts really bad. And he's like, it should hurt. And I was like, ah. So this store, I went to 2 different stores. One store was like, we have a pair of boots in your size, but they're a controversial boot. And I was like,
some Twitter statements by the owner.
Right. Does this boot say the N-word?
They all start with, I'm not racist, but yeah.
So I go, all right, well, what's controversial? He goes, well, they're very comfortable. And I was like, okay. I slipped my foot into this. And if you want to look it up, they're called Apex. I slipped my foot into this thing and I was like, well, this is like a fucking Ugg boot.
Right.
Fantastic. And he goes, and you can use them for snowboarding or skiing. I was like, why isn't everyone getting these? Not that I've ever snowboarded, but like versatile shoes. And he's like, yeah. I go, what's the controversy? He goes, well, they're comfortable. And I understand none of this. Everyone that has ever skied in their life will understand that is a big fucking problem. So he's like, it has this like very fancy mechanism to tighten. So you don't have it's like this little wheelie thing that you turn. And I Googled, they retail for $650. I was paying $113. So I was like, this is my lucky fucking day.
Right.
All right. So I drive out to Aspen. I'm all excited. I got my shit together. I'm going to ski with everybody, Rich included. And I am like, hey, I've got these new fancy ski boots. And everybody who are all outfitted in like K2s and whatnot, they're like, what are those? And I was
like when you go to school and people are like, what are those?
Yeah. And they were the Skechers of ski boots, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, they look really...
Well, here's why I knew they were a problem, because you started talking about everything except the functionality.
Yeah.
Like when you're a young comic and you get booked for a gig and they're paying you nothing, they always go, the hotel, there's a waterfall in it.
Yeah.
The rooms, we got your big bed. It's like, how much do you get paid? Man, the wait staff is fine.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I got worried.
I say to Rich, like when I show him these, he was like, those don't look like ski boots. And I was like, I can like run in them if I wanted to. And he's like, that's not supposed to happen. So I'm all excited. I'm fine. We have like a beautiful day. We get on the lift. I start skiing and I realize, oh, I might as well be skiing in a pair of Vans. Like there's no support at all. I have no control, no support, and everything is burning. And I'm trying to bitch about it, but like I'm trying to be like not the biggest complainer because I'm definitely the worst skier in our group. And like Rich has to like stay back and like help me. And I've told him in advance that I can't fall because I have internal stitches. So he's like watching me. And then also I couldn't get one ski on. So if I lost the ski, whatever. So he's monitoring the situation.
Why is everything burning? Because it's like chafing against the sides?
No, my muscles they're using all my musculature to hold myself up because the boot isn't doing it. Normally a ski boot is so incredibly strong that you can lean all the way forward in it and it holds you up. That's how you're supposed to ski.
It's like Jesus.
Yeah, I was just using my own leg strength. Now here's the problem. Guess where all the strength in your body comes from?
Oh.
That's right.
Your core.
Your asshole.
Your center.
Yeah.
Your true center. Sorry, Buddha.
Yeah.
That's the real circle of life.
Yeah.
The ass chakra.
Yeah. And so I'm doing run and I'm trying to hang in there. And like Rich is like, just one more run. We're just gonna do one more. And he's like, well, we'll stop at the lodge. We'll get a drink. Then we'll do one more run. And I was like, oh yeah, one more. And I'm like, ugh. That now it's like an internal alarm going off. Like,
right.
did There's an emergency.
So run a diagnostic on your body. What is hurting and where?
So my legs are shot out.
That's a problem. I didn't know you were going to start with that.
Yeah. My wrists were killing me because but the asshole was the problem. I was like, oh, this is concerning. I realized what I was doing to myself, but it's $278 a day to ski. Like I'm going to ski the rest of the day. So by the way, I wanted to get into some of the costs at Aspen because we were hemorrhaging money. Like I'm very grateful that like obviously I have like the means and friends and whatnot, but it's still a gross amount of money to spend. So I'm going to name a couple of things for you and I'd like you to take a guess at the price. So when he took me, we used the gondola, then there was like a ski lodge thingy, and then you use the ski lift. And so at the lodge, a double vodka soda, what do you think that costs?
18.
50. 50.
American dollars?
Yes.
Do they like say sorry when they ask for your card, or like it's just like
got a tip?
Shut up. Oh, all right, dog.
So okay,
For one drink.
correct. Well, it was a double to be fair, but it was one drink. Okay, how about black coffee?
12?
You had it right there for 18. 18 is the cost of a black coffee on the mountain in Aspen.
What would a latte be?
Oh, 36? I don't know. It was like, they're just insane. The price of everything is bananas. There's a place called Cloud9 where they've like pop $500 bottles of Vouv or whatever. Probably not Vouv, maybe, I don't know, Dom. And there's 2 seatings a day. And so I didn't stay for this. I left, but friends of mine went to the first seating. So it's 11 a.m. and a 1:30. So the 11 a.m. there's like a lunch, there's some food, and then there's alcohol. What do you think it costs for 10 people to go to Cloud9?
Oh. 15 grand?
Close, 10 grand.
Oh.
1,000 a person for lunch.
Was there alcohol?
Yeah, there was alcohol. But 1,000 a person is like...
Wait, 1,000 a person?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just saying, I respect Aspen for like understanding how to keep the pores out, because it's just not possible to go there.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's an internet firewall in real life.
Yeah.
Using money.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, can you afford to be up here, buddy? I don't think so.
So the other thing that happened is Jeff Bezos, I don't know how you fucking say that bald.
You should be able to say his name.
Bezos?
Yeah, he's been out there for a while.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never learned it. He's not attractive. Anyways, he was getting married or some shit. And basically what happened is the airport was a fucking nightmare because it's a very tiny airport and all these private planes had to land and they got precedence over the commercial flights. So all the commercial flights kept getting canceled. So I have friends that were there that were trying to fly out and their flight was at 12:30. It got delayed.
Did the captain come on and say, if you're wondering for our delay, pull out your phone and look at your checking account? That's why.
Yeah.
If you're hearing my voice, you're too poor to land.
Yeah. So my friends were leaving at 12:30. Their flight got delayed till 4:30, then 5:30, then canceled. That meant they had to rent a car in Aspen and find somewhere to stay in Aspen, basically around, the day before New Year's. And you can't stay in Aspen. Like one of my friends was staying in a 1-bedroom at the Viceroy, and that was $3,900 a night. So like casually, the airport being like, bye, get out of and the airport closes at 11, they kick you out. You can't sleep in the airport. My friends asked. They had to find, and it's incredibly difficult to find. It's a tiny fucking town. It's so goddamn overrated. Anyways, yada, yada. Oh, I have one more thing to add. So we are in Aspen and there's some friends of ours who have like nieces and nephews and a child of their own. They're all doing like a dinner with like kids at it. And so Rich is like, okay, you go to dinner with like our regular adult friends. I'm going to go to this kid dinner because it'll be fun. His kids were there too. And he's like, it'll be fun. He's Richard Jefferson. Like it's, he'll take
We'll
pictures.
remind everyone he's famous.
He is. He really would not appreciate me talking on this podcast, but that's too bad. He doesn't listen. He's an ex-NBA player that's now a commentator. He's wonderful all around and my best friend. But anyways, he goes to this dinner and he calls me while I'm at the dinner. And I'm like, is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, can you come here? And I was like, well, no, we just like ordered our appetizer. What's up? And he's like, well, someone at this dinner is like your biggest fan. And I was like, they? What? And like, so there was a 14-year-old, shout out, his name's Ford.
Shout out.
Ford was
My
at this
son's
dinner.
name.
Yes. And he was like, he knows his aunt knows me. And he's like, is there any way you can get Corinne here? Could I meet Corinne? And so I find this out and I am like, I will move mountains for my number one fan. Like,
Right, your number one 14-year-old fan.
In Aspen.
Who knows of you by proxy of an aunt that may or may not exist.
But like the fact that like Jennifer Lopez, Mariah Carey, Bezos.
What do you don't know what Amazon is?
I know what I could say the word Amazon. I feel like my mother right now. My mother like intentionally mispronounces things. But this kid only wanted to meet me. So I did. I went to the Little Nell. I met him. We took a picture. And I was like, listen, you're in charge of my fan club now in Aspen, buddy. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, it's going to be small. I think you're the only one. But
and then that was it? You left a place to go somewhere because a 14-year-old asked you?
Yeah. I had a fan.
That is the confidence of a 14-year-old in Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
I wish at 14 years old, I'd be like, hey, Dad, call your friend Mike. Tell him to get over here.
Mommy, I want to see her now.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to this famous person. I want to talk to that famous person. Make it happen, buddy. That's insane.
Well, anyways, in the last news of the day for the Aspen situation, I took a photo with Richard, and Richard notoriously does not smile in photos with me, and he hates when I talk about him. He hates being tagged and shit, and I respect that, sort of. But this was a really good photo, and I was wearing this shirt, which is why I'm wearing this shirt. If you're not watching, please watch. My safe word is more on YouTube. It is a great shirt, and it was very Aspen.
There's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. It's like all the hats that Beyonce went through before the Cowboy Carter shoot. There's a pink 10-gallon hat, a leopard skin 10-gallon. I mean, it's stylish, but not everybody can pull that off. You should let people know. Right. Not everybody can pull that shirt off.
So I was like really excited. And we like one of our favorite things about Aspen, actually the only thing I really like about Aspen is the dress up culture. Like everyone's like, let me buy a $1,200 Kimosabi hat. I wore, hard flex here. I wore my Christian Dior floor length fur, which I only own because my parents bought it for me on consignment. It's retails for $16,000. We did not pay that, obviously. My father paid.
I have seen this coat.
Yeah. So
it's like when Luke has to kill that thing on Star Wars to get inside of it, so he lives through the winter night.
Yeah.
Like that was, it's a very Star Wars reference, but any nerd would get that. You are encapsulated in this jacket.
So I took a picture with Rich and I ended up like throwing it up on my Instagram because I was like, I never can find like I don't have any organizational skills. Like unless it's on Facebook or Instagram, like I'll never find that picture again in like my fucking iCloud. I don't even know how you use it, iCloud. So I put it on there and some motherfucker comments, Do you even know Richard? He doesn't like any of your photos.
Wow.
I hate the fucking internet. I was like, no, I don't know him. Just was in Aspen at the same time and took up. I mean, the guy like was referencing that there are other photos of Rich and I somewhere on my Instagram, and he's acting like I am like stalking him to get a photo. It was so aggravating to me. And then I had to spend 15 minutes learning how to hide the comment and block this motherfucker.
But what?
Why say it? Why are you even on my page? And then I look and it says follow back, which means he follows me. I was like, you've lost your privileges now.
That is, it's, I think one of the things that initially turned me off about the internet is I'm sure that all three of our minds are very just like, okay, somebody has a problem with you or there is a problem. What is the root? And with somebody like that, I will spend 2 days going, why would somebody care that somebody they don't know hasn't liked a photo of somebody else they don't know? Like, what would be, and for them, they're just crazy, and they just, I write this comment, and then something else weird, and then they'll just go about and they'll never think about you again. But and that's why, like, it's hard for me not to read the comments, but I have to tell myself it doesn't make sense. It's like just somebody fell face forward on their keyboard, and something came out, but there's no logic or reason behind it.
Yeah, and there's just like no point in arguing with them. But anyways, it was maddening to me. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. We will get into some stories that we actually didn't get into today because we didn't have time, but we have a bunch of emails that I'm excited to share with you. Yeah.
Wait, give us a final summation. How's the ass now?
I am pretty sure I destroyed the surgery.
Really?
Yeah, it's not good.
Because you broke every single rule that they had?
Yeah, because
including some going into the surgery?
Everything.
Okay.
I definitely, like, when I was done skiing, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. You're a year away from talking to high school students. I was like you. I didn't think I had to read the brochure. And now look at me.
Yeah.
I'm a handler.
As I like to say, I'm not currently experiencing incontinence.
Okay, good, because these seats are expensive. Shout out.
No, I have no problems with that, but there's a lot of pain there. All right, Chris, time for you to take us home.
I just would like to ask our swimmers out there to help Al get to Aspen someday. And here's how you can do that. Check out Al on January 31st at Rise Comedy. He has a big show coming up. Where's Rise Comedy?
Rise?
It's in downtown Denver.
Oh.
Yeah, come on, come out to the show. I appreciate the shout out, Chris. Yeah, it's going to be super fun. It's a small theater. I want to record an hour in there. It's going to be super
You're going to record it?
Yeah.
Oh, we should go.
Once again, January 31st, we for sure will go.
I ain't like the word should. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like,
you're going skiing with your asshole hanging out of your pocket and you don't know if you're going to make it to my
Swimmers,
show?
we want you to go, but I probably won't. So, yeah, I'm not going to probably.
Why?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. If you go,
Chris is like, no reason.
I'll take a picture with you.
Yeah, great. And also, swimmers, don't just listen to the pod. Check out the video on YouTube.
Yes.
We know you all like to watch.
Especially for the shirt, if nothing else.
Yeah. All right, take us home.
All right, guys. In 2025, nothing has changed. And that's that you don't listen to this podcast because it's a podcast about life.
It's a podcast about how I'm going to sue the company that makes X-Pearl.
As you should.